today, kind of what's the purpose of the show? It is to give you ideas to help you make better financial decisions going forward. And that's what we need is better decisions. I think sometimes when I'm asked is, should I save retirement? When should I save for retirement? When should I start? How much should I be saving? That's kind of things we talk about on the show, and you just should save. You should have started yesterday, and how much is save as much as you can. You don't know what you're going to need. If you want to join the conversation, the magic of the show is the callers, 504-2600-995. Once again, 504-2600-995. We're over on Facebook Live, YouTube as well, streaming. You can watch the show there. And if you're needing to stream the audio, you can go to Winning at Life. On that page, we'll give you the links to stream the show. Or, even better yet, you could download the Winning at Life app. You can text, email, call the show through the Winning at Life app as well. That'll get you up to speed and join the conversation. If you're listening in your car and you need to jump away, you can do so through a couple of those methods that I gave you. Over on Facebook Live, you can follow us on the Winning at Life page, as well as my personal page, Gregory Ricks. So once again, welcome to the show. We're coming up on 12 years of Winning at Life radio. Wow, what a ride. We started as an early morning show back 12 years ago, and that anniversary is actually coming up in 2 weeks. Not that we're going to do anything special. We're just going to continue doing what we do. But yeah, in about 2 weeks, we have the show coming up that will be our anniversary show. Might be some clips we play from the past. However, once again, nothing special except continuing what we do and looking forward to year 13 of Winning at Life Radio, helping you with some ideas. Several things I'm wanting to talk about today. Here, let me grab my list. So, how does Social Security, I'm going to talk a little bit about that today as well, because that's, probably has been the number one topic over the years for the show. How does retiring early impact Social Security benefits? How about 3 things to do right now to get higher Social Security checks? Another topic I've got for you, and we're probably going to speak extensively about this today, is Roth conversions. I've got a article here by Roger Woolner, and I'm going to talk with you about that. But, the topic is, should I convert to a Roth IRA? Consider these 5 things first. And then Bob French has a piece on what happens after the market drops. So that's a few of the many things we're going to talk about today as well. So we'll bring you up to speed. We've had a few weeks of the market going down. So we'll talk a little bit about that today also. And I've had a number of conversations this week about portfolios and balances of people coming in, and their money's elsewhere, but they're having questions, they're having concerns, they don't understand, and some of the way it's allocated probably means they are invested in such a way that this makes them uncomfortable in the not knowing. So you want the full brunt of the market going down, then have all of your money in stocks combined with not having a long view on that as well. So that could tend to make somebody unhappy in how that's invested. Another topic comes to mind on that, and that's regarding variable annuities. A few weeks ago, we had a caller into the show was considering doing that, and I recently spoke with a household, and they were not happy with the performance of that. So, and one of the things I do on that, when somebody comes in and they have a variable annuity, I have an analysis sheet. I pull that out, and we call the company up, and the insurance company that's backing that variable annuity, and start asking some questions to find out what's going on, how that works, what are the fees on that. And for all the listeners, I'll share a couple things to have an understanding of both sides of that. So first off, annuities are basically an insurance tool, but calling it an annuity does not define annuities. That's just one overall class. To simplify it, I kind of break it into two worlds. You have fixed annuities, and there's various kinds in that world, and then you have variable annuities. So when you have fixed annuities, there's no market risk, meaning the risk is essentially picked up by the insurance company. You're not associated with the downside of the market. Also, fixed annuities can be fixed interest, so there's no exposure to the market on the upside either. It's just a fixed interest rate. So you typically either see a fixed interest rate or it's linked to one of various growth types, such as an index or indices, to get the upside without downside exposure. On the variable side, that is a risk tool. And inside of that typically are mutual funds. So I look at a variable annuity as a mutual fund wrapper, which exposes you to the upside and the downside of markets. On the variable side, there's fees deducted as well. I kind of refer to it as an expensive tool. Fixed annuities, on the other side, typically don't have fees unless there's certain riders added to it, like, for example, an income rider or a death benefit rider on that. But just from a core example of a fixed interest annuity or a fixed indexed annuity, there typically is not a rider. There is not a fee on those annuities. On the variable side, it can kind of be expensive, and that's kind of what I'm getting at on this story here. Is we made a call recently and had a discussion, and it came to the fees, the M&E fee. There was a rider fee, the mutual fund fee inside of it. All that came to about 3.3% annually. Oh, and guess what? This case was an IRA. So an IRA is tax deferred. Annuities are tax deferred. But I get back to, why would you put money in a variable annuity? Because you can put money in mutual funds outside of that as well. So once again, you can put your money in mutual funds and just say the average fund fee is 1%. And you're doing so inside of a variable annuity, and you have 3.3%. Gosh, that's kind of like, when you think of VA, you might think of that's kind of an expensive way to have your money working. So that is a concern and very surprising. And it's almost what I typically see on those, they become forgotten assets. They're typically not properly blended. They're not properly rebalanced. It's almost your money's taken in it and forgotten about it. But that's up to advisor level or firm level on not taking proper care of the client from that standpoint. Now, as far as those tools, like a fixed indexed annuity, it's backed by full faith and credit of the insurance company in that case. So you need to understand that. And on the variable side, it's pretty much backed up by the contents of the portfolio. If the account goes down, the insurance company does not have any risk on the variable side. So one of the cases is, if you're, just to be clear so that you understand what you're doing, I always kind of have two key questions I think you should ask. If I go forward with this advice, because I think sometimes people think they're asking for annuity or getting a VA, they think they may be getting a safe tool. So I suggest you ask, if I go forward with this, what is my risk? And then you back it up, what are the fees with this, so that you have clarity on those two parts. We're going to be back in a couple minutes. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Learn the ins and outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world. So if you have a financial situation or you just want to learn more about money, ask Gregory. Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app or wherever you get your podcast. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any government agency.
Wow. How great would it be to get a rate quote on a home loan without giving some dude or dudette your whole life story, wasting hours finding loan documents just to get a hard sell on why you need to use them? At SnapSendAndSave.com, there's absolutely no credit pull or no cost to you. I'll give you your options on rates, terms, and costs. So visit SnapSendAndSave.com. Follow the instructions, and you can thank me later when we chat.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can hear the Ask Gregory podcast, where you'll find episodes based on a financial topic. So if you're looking for help on a specific situation, there's a good chance you'll find it on the Ask Gregory podcast, including episodes on 401ks, taxes, stocks, Social Security, gold, and whether or not you should buy an RV. Hear the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
2 questions. Do you have a pulse? Do you own anything? If you said yes to both, you probably need a will. You may even need a trust. We all know a lawyer. Do you know someone who specializes in estate planning? Do you really trust the husband of your sister's friend from college? Or would you feel better putting your family in the hands of the estate planning attorney of the Total Wealth Authority? I'm Wes Blanchard. What's your plan? Offices in Metairie and at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
What we found through history, looking at the past 90 years, most fund managers don't outperform or perform as well as the indexes. Using indexing, historicals teach a skew a higher return. And yes, there's bad stocks in S&P 500 as it looks right now, and yet the index is up. I like to use index ETFs because those are much lower expense ratios. We try our best in managing our portfolios to avoid trading costs, and we know, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've studied trading strategies. You're not going to outsmart the indexes. You may get lucky, you may get unlucky.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Nowhere to go, nowhere to be. I got my shades on, top back, rolling with the music jack. One on the wheel, one around you, baby.
Hey, y'all.
I bet there's a chance we could get
Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. Hey, I hear there's some new listeners on today, probably on the stream watching us. I haven't shared it with my audience, those followers. I'll do that on the next break. We still have another 2.5 hours to go. But that's a cool thing about these platforms, digital and social, is we can share. And I think that's what we should be doing more of, is sharing with others. That means we can provide some help to them on making better financial decisions. And I think by being helping person, a giving person, life goes better for us. And that's what we want to be, of sharing. That's kind of what we teach in our culture at the firm. And to be a wealth advisors have to be in that being of service mode and giving mode to help people make better decisions with their money. I need to, hold on a second, let me get some hooked up here. I just realized my laptop was not even plugged in. It's not happy with that. You know, it's kind of like not plugging your phone in at night. It's probably not going to last the next day. I know my laptop would not last very long if it had not been plugged in. Well, let me share this with you here. After 20 weeks of calendar year 2022, the S&P 500 is down 17.7%. Year-to-date total return through the close of trading May 20th, which that would be yesterday. Once again, the S&P 500 consists of 500 stocks chosen for market size, liquidity, and industry group representation. It is a market value-weighted index with each stock's weight in the index proportionate to its market value. That information is from BTN Research, and the biggest point of that is it's down 17.7% year to date. So depending on how you're allocated, and if you're using that index as an example, you're down 17.7%. But if that's just a portion of your assets and say the others are more conservative, then you shouldn't be down that much. If you're active, if your money is actively managed and a lot of stock selection is going on, and that's really what active management means, is they're constantly doing something or making changes, and you might not have an index, you may have a mix of stocks depending on their active management philosophy. In some cases, yeah, you could be down a good bit more. We'll see about discussing some of those particulars later in the show. But in a discussion I had this week, and this is kind of my usual discussion, is using multiple asset classes of investments. And And I'm not a believer in putting your money just in stocks. If I had to quickly define it, I like me some stocks, and I want to do that with the S&P, the Dow, I want a mix of the indexes. I also like some bonds, but I want to be shorter duration, and I want some bond like strategies into the mix because, interest rates going up, bond values will go down. So we don't want to be impacted particularly in that way. We choose that category because we're wanting to be more conservative there. And for those two, I like exchange traded funds. I want efficiency, I want lower cost, and there's efficiency from a tax standpoint if I'm using exchange traded funds. I also like quantitative tactical. I want an asset class where my money is following momentum, like what's in favor. And in situations, cash on that block of money could be raised, will be raised, has been raised, or increased because of the volatility in the markets. And just even in normal times, you could have cash increase because of momentum changing and the money's paused waiting for where momentum is heading or what's in favor. I always think of all the investments out there are kind of in a rotation. Like they'll talk about tech stocks or the various stocks in the NASDAQ of those tech stocks. They're all not in favor. You also kind of hear a term use market breadth. How of say the S&P 500, for example, what portion are those that are up versus the ones that are down? And I'll tell you, it's rare for them all to be going up. And it might be a small portion of stocks that might be carrying that index. See, that's why that skews historically a higher return is because of having what's in favor in there versus stock selection. You're having to make the right picks. You're needing the momentum stocks. And if you get that wrong, you could be going the wrong way, even though, say, the market, for example, is going up, or when the market's going down, you could be kind of taking it on the chin a bit worse. So we like using exchange traded funds through those three asset classes. The fourth asset class, I'm going to circle back around to annuities, fixed indexed annuities. I have some people say, well, I've heard they're not good. Well, I've talked to you what I thought is the not good, and that's the variable annuity side. What I want a fixed indexed annuity for is I don't want that money to have downside risk. I don't want it to be capable of going down in value because of the stock market or even the bond market. I don't want it to go down for any reason. I want the upside of the indices. And there's a phrase I use, and we just kind of look at historicals by decade. When history kind of shows us that the market's typically up 7 out of 10 years. It's been, when we look at the past 20, it's probably up a little bit more than that, not much. We're going to win most of the time with that strategy, having upside of that. So in a fixed indexed annuity, I want to link to the indexes again, for example, like the S&P 500, the Dow. I want to link to those. Now, I'm not getting all that upside. I'm just getting, my preference is a participation rate. And over time, I want to average, say, 40 to 50% of the upside would be my preference. So we're looking to participate. And one reason we don't need all the upside on those is because we're not having to make up downside losses. So when you think of that from that standpoint of the market, the market has to make up downside losses out there. And that's why it also has to skew a higher return. But when you use a fixed indexed annuity, say with hypothetically a 50% par, you're not trailing the market by much. So now I've discussed the 4 asset classes now. And jumping back to annuities, people say, well, I just don't like annuities. I totally don't think variables are appropriate. I hold a variable license, so I am licensed up to talk about them. I understand them. I've been in the industry for a long time, and I just don't find a place for them. And they're kind of expensive from that standpoint, too. When a fixed indexed annuity does not give me market exposure, but gives me market upside, and I use that tool for what it can do in a portfolio mix. So somebody will say also, I just don't like annuities. I said, I don't like most of them either. There's just a few that I like to use as a growth tool in that area. But when you think about it, I don't like all stocks. Yeah, most stocks don't do well. I don't like all bonds. Most don't fit what we want to do. So what we want to do is take the good out of each asset class. What gives us the highest probability of success? So when you do that and you have diversification through asset classes, and each asset class you have diversification inside of that, and we have a downward market like we have for this year, you should be skewing less on the downside because you don't have all of your money exposed to the downside movement. From a stock standpoint, you've got probably neighborhood of 25% of your money exposed to downside of the market. But we also don't want to time it or try to jump out because you're creating two problems. When to get out, when to get in. Proper diversification of asset classes can give you a higher probability of success. We're going to talk a bunch more when we come back. If you want to join the conversation, call this number, 504-2600-995, or text or email us through the Winning at Life app. We'll be back shortly.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Something that's come up on the show over the last 10 years is that if you're not at your old job, maybe your 401k shouldn't be either. But do you really know why we say that? It's a funny thing. We put a few $100 in our 401k every month. It ends up to be thousands of dollars every year, hundreds of thousands of dollars over our career, and you don't really know that much about it. How do you invest it? How do you diversify? What do you buy? What do you avoid? You've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do. Ask Gregory. Ask Gregory is our new podcast with these financial topics broken down into specific little chunks. So if you have a financial situation or you just want to learn more about money, ask Gregory. Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app or wherever you get podcasts. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any
prepared for rising inflation and higher taxes in your financial plan. Get our guide, Inflation and Your Retirement. Go to GregoryRicks.com/inflation to get our guide today. We are Gregory Ricks & Associates, the total wealth authority.
Our firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services. Offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC. Gregory Ricks & Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live 6 days a week. And if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Cancer Crusaders has been raising funds for cancer research in New Orleans since 1976. Cancer Crusaders, Inc. is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization with no administrative overhead. Cancer Crusaders has raised over $4 million so far, and all of that money goes to the Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center Foundation and the Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, where they are literally working on a cure for cancer. Get involved, donate, volunteer, or attend a fundraiser. CancerCrusadersLA.com.
Fox News, I'm Karen McHugh. President Biden taking care of business while on his first trip to Asia as president. Today in South Korea, he signed that $40 billion aid package for Ukraine for their fight against Russia.
Half the money goes to Ukraine's military. The Senate passed that bill in the hours after President Biden left Washington, so it was flown across the world to get his signature promptly.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich in Seoul. Meanwhile, parents and infants should be relieved to know that Operation Fly Formula is underway.
First flights of formula headed aboard U.S. military cargo planes flying in from Germany, 132 pallets in all. For Americans with newborns at home, this formula can't arrive soon enough. Right now, the out-of-stock rate for formula is 45%. The U.S. Air Force has over 200 C-17 cargo planes like this and a fleet of C-130s as well.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. America is listening to Fox News.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
But you gotta keep your head up, oh, and you can let your head down, hey. You gotta keep your head up, oh, and you can let your head down, hey. I know it's hard, hard to remember sometimes, but you gotta keep your head up, oh, and you can let your head down, hey, 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 hey. I got my hands in my pockets, kicking these rocks, it's kinda
You're
hard to
listening
watch
to Winning
this
at Life,
life go
live
by.
financial news talk radio. I guess it's all working. Little technical trouble here at the moment. Hey, got something for you. 3 things to do in a market downturn. Go to gregoryricks.com/downturn to get you a little bit of help there from that standpoint. How about if you want to join the conversation, 504-260-0995. Once again, you're listening to Winning at Life Radio. Last segment, I kind of gave you some investment philosophy that I believe gives you a better chance of success long range. So what we're always trying to do is what gives us the best probabilities going forward from that standpoint. And that's what we want, is a better chance of succeeding. But we also need to invest in a way that when volatility happens or there's disruption, we don't interrupt the compounding of our money. We need to keep that compounding growth going. You know what that compounding is? That's when you put money to work and it makes money. Then that money it makes money. And that money makes money. It creates the compound effect. You know, for example, if you have $100,000 at 7.2% return, you're going to double that money in 10 years. So 100,000 goes to 200,000 in 10 years. The next 10 years, that 200,000 goes to 400,000. That third 10 years, that 400,000 goes to 800,000. And we shouldn't also, and some of the thinking is when we get to retirement or at a certain age in life, I've got to stop my money from growing. And that's where you have some money at a longer time horizon. And it's like, I can't do that. I'm 72. And they're like, in 8 years, I'll be 80. And I'll say, well, in 10 years, you'll be 82. In 20 years, you'll be 92. Okay, your money's got to keep working. You're going to live longer, but if you're properly invested, you should have assets rotating in favor to keep you moving forward with an increased probability of success. You don't have to go pause. I could see if you're thinking that all of your money's at risk and you're 72, yes, please make some changes to that. You could also reach a point, and this where risk has to be a discussion, and I think most people are not invested to their sleep number. Yeah, that's a different paper, because people like, oh, I can't rest, I can't sleep, I'm worried about my money. Well, I'll call that a sleep number for the moment here. Is if that risk number that you have is not correlated to your feelings, that you probably should have that looked at again. And that's something we at our firm and my day job, we look at, because we want to make sure you're not taking more risk than you should. And if you're worrying, yeah, that needs to be adjusted. And it is okay to be conservative. And I think over time, you should be more conservative. I had a discussion this week, and a gentleman and I was talking about that, and I said, look, I'm probably more conservative than you are. I'm more conservative than most. But that doesn't mean I want to interrupt my compounding. It doesn't mean I want to stop growing my money. I just want it where I'm comfortable with the probability of it moving forward for me, and having diversification and proper rotation to increase my probability of success. And no, I don't want all my money in stocks. I don't want to be all in stocks when stocks are good, and I don't want to be all of it when stocks are bad. But I'm going to have some in that, because I know in time this will pass and the markets will be back up again, be in favor, and be at higher levels. And if you look at history, one thing is go to Yahoo Finance and look at an S&P 500 chart over the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and that kind of shows you where it has headed over time, but it does take pauses. It does pull back. So when you think about how you're investing, and it might be, and there's cases where somebody will come in and say, can we do this without it being in stocks? And you know what? The answer is yes, we can. We can take that type of conservative approach, which reduces your exposure, and that it makes you comfortable, because we can keep the assets moving forward in that way. So one thing I started to share earlier is a little bit more about me for the new listeners joining into the show that has either joined us through the Winning at Life app, or streaming over on Facebook Live, YouTube, or on the many markets that are, quite a few markets are listening to us, and there will be more add-on as we move through the morning of our 3-hour show that ends at 1 o'clock. But we started doing this show, well, thinking about it was well over 12 years ago, but in 2 weeks will be our 12th year anniversary of Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Winning at Life Radio, the Winning at Life Nation. My day job is I'm CEO, founder, wealth advisor over at Gregory Ricks and Associates. Did a head count yesterday. We have 20 people on payroll at the company. So that's kind of, I think, a new high for us, but I know we've got some more new people starting next week as well. So we've been in kind of a hiring mode to increase the wealth advisor team, as well as to increase the service department as well. And we're making great strides in that and bringing on some incredible talent as well. So we're very excited about the future of the company. But I've been in the industry for several decades, and I really, fell in love with compound interest in school back in the day. And it's just always been a fascination of mine ever since. And at the core is, how can we make better financial decisions? Goes some family history. Dad was killed offshore. Mom came into money as a result of settlements with some of the industry's companies, and she didn't do a good job with that money back then. And it was the time that I was young, and this kind of happened in my college time, and I wasn't in the industry at that time, but she kind of received pretty big settlement, and that money didn't last, and she wasn't adept at making good decisions, and definitely wasn't adept at choosing who to get help from. And at the core, I think you should be working with somebody that's going to put your interests first. And that and by saying that, putting your interests first also might be a reason for us not to work together as well. That's part of that equation. Doesn't mean because we talk that it's a fit and we're going to work together, or that you need that help. There's a recent discussion regarding a case, and I'm involved in all the cases at the firm, but one of the advisors was talking to me about a scenario, and we always are talking about the cases. And I just said, based on instability of income coming forward, they're retiring early, that money probably should stay in the 401k. We think it's a possible spend down over a short period of time. Well, they need to be very conservative, and there's no need to move that money if that is indeed the case. There's a possibility that might change in the future, that's not going to happen that way, and then we'll circle back around to see about helping. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, live financial news talk radio. If you want to join the conversation, call us at 504-260-0995. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
Most of what I hear when families come in and they're moving from one of the big banks that has a big brokerage firm, and what they feel is they're more like a member there, and that they're not getting that personal service or that communication. And that's one of the things that's really important to me, is that we provide that communication, we provide that service. But I'll tell you what, we're bigger than the average firm as that goes. And when you talk about who you're working with, the advisor, well, do they have a 12-person support staff? Do they have advisors working for them as well to make sure all of this happens?
Gregory Ricks and Associates. Find us at GregoryRicks.com or call 504-832-9200. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Oh, Rover, you have fleas again? Prevent fleas and ticks from setting up shop in your backyard. Those bloodsuckers can bite up to 400 times a day and carry nasty diseases like typhus and tapeworms. Give Rover some relief and contact Mosquito Joe. Their mosquito control services also kill and prevent fleas and ticks. Let Mosquito Joe be your first line of defense against those blood-sucking pests. New Orleans.mosquitojoe.com. New Orleans.mosquitojoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Something that's come up is, if you're not at your old job, maybe your 401k shouldn't be either. But do you really know why we say that? Ask Gregory is our new podcast with financial topics broken down into specific little chunks. So if you have a financial situation or you just want to learn more about money, ask Gregory. Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app or wherever you get podcasts. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any government agency.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
Can you raise your payout on your Social Security after full retirement by continuing working and paying in more? Do you get a raise for that?
Remember, the core thing is Social Security benefits you receive are based on your best 35 years. If you have less than 35 years, those are filled in with zeros. So if you're making more money this year that replaces, say, that first year of the 35, it is inflation adjusted. That will improve your benefit. And they reset that, they recalculate that every year. So even while you're drawing benefits, you could well be incrementally improving your benefits.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Hey, y'all. You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. If you want to join the conversation, give us a call, 504-2600-995. 3 things you can do now to get a higher Social Security check. People are often advised not to depend on Social Security too heavily during retirement. That's because those benefits will only replace a portion of the paycheck you're used to receiving. It's kind of designed to replace about 40% of your income, not all of it. Now, if you're low income person, it is kind of designed to replace up to 90% on the first $1,000 of average income over the 35 years. But most people have more income than that, so ultimately it's designed to replace 40% of that income. But there's still a good chance you'll rely on Social Security for some degree once your work comes to an end, or you've reached here's a phrase, life optional lifestyle where you may not want to work any longer and you're no longer collecting a paycheck. So that's when Social Security is going to come into play. And most people have Social Security benefits, but you don't have to wait until retirement age to take steps to boost your Social Security income. I'm going to go over a few things to help you with that. One of the things I want to remind you of is signing up for your SSA account, because I can ask you a question, and you don't have to answer me back, but think about this. Have you seen your Social Security benefit statement lately? Have you? Well, they just don't send those out like they used to. What's easy is to go online and take a look at that. But first off, you have to set up your SSA account. So you've got to know a little bit about your personal credit history, because there's going to be some questions to make sure it's you signing up for that account. I would rather you sign up for your account than somebody else sign up for your account. That's one of the reasons to do so. Another reason to do so is you can verify your credits to your W-2 each year. Are you being properly credited? Was that information entered correctly so that your benefits are accurate. Sometimes we've had callers call in over the years, kind of like found that their benefits went down because their last year went down, because what they did was go like, why did my benefits go down? Well, one reason, check to see if your credits were properly inputted into the system. And one of the callers said, yeah, it was wrong by a lot. So they went about getting that corrected. So you have a little bit more than 3 years to get that corrected. So, but if it's, you see an error 4 or 5 years ago, yeah, you're not going to be able to get that corrected. So that's an important reason. The other reason is you can go in and look at your benefits, and ultimately you're going to sign up for Social Security benefits to start the benefit checks. And how are you probably going to do that? You're going to go online to do that. So you might as well go ahead and set that up. So we get that out of the way first. So the amount of money, so number one is to boost your income. So the amount of money you receive from Social Security retirement will hinge on career wages. If you're able to boost your income, you can set yourself up for a higher monthly benefit. So it's basically uses your best 35 years. It's averaged monthly, so it's averaged over 420 months. And it's adjusted by cost of living. And if you're working past 35 years, you're likely to be replacing lower years with higher years. So for one thing, you can work on developing skills that help you make more money, become a more valuable employee, and that can lead to more income. If you're needing to boost even more, how about a side job or second job? And later in life, if you're behind the curve, you don't have enough saved. You know, kind of two core things here. One, you do need to boost your income. You might need to work extra because you're needing to save money, because you're going to need it in the future. And thus that will also increase your benefits. The other part of that is defer turning on Social Security as close or all the way to 70 if you can. That will boost your benefits if you don't have enough money saved. Now, the other part of that is number two, which kind of what I alluded to there, is extending your career. It may be the case that you're nearing the end of your career and are earning more money than ever before. So if so, you have prime opportunity to get a higher Social Security benefit by maybe extending that, because typically back end of our working lives, we're making a lot more money than we did on the front end. So we're replacing lower earnings with higher earnings in the formula Social Security uses to calculate retirement benefits. Plus, working a bit longer at a higher salary could make it possible to pad other savings like emergency savings, investments, IRAs, 401k. Even better yet, getting money into Roth accounts to create tax-free income in retirement. And number three, and this is why I suggested you set up your SSA account, Social Security benefit account. It's at ssa.gov. Each year, Social Security issues all workers a summary of their earnings and an estimate of their future benefits based on their earnings. Checking your annual earnings statement could lead to a higher monthly benefit down the line. Although earnings statements are often accurate, that's not always the case. It's possible your income might be underreported. And so you want to get that corrected. If you review earnings statement every year and correct errors related to underreported income, it could lead to higher benefit in the future. And if you're 60 or older, you should receive a copy of your earnings statement in the mail each year. So a higher benefit could be in your future. The more money you're able to squeeze out of Social Security, the more comfortable a retirement you may be looking at. It pays to take these steps to get a higher monthly benefit. And if you're getting a higher monthly benefit and you do have savings, retirement savings, IRAs, and such, then you're leaning on that money less and it can go further. So one of the core things also is thinking about Social Security. How does Social Security look at your benefit? They look at it as the FRA number, that acronym. That full retirement age is how Social Security looks at your benefit. If you defer past your FRA, it's going to increase your benefit. If you start it before then, it's going to reduce your benefit. And if you start it early, it's locking it in there forward. It doesn't give you a lesser benefit than upgrade it when you reach FRA. Sometimes I get that question. No, you are deemed to have locked it in at that point, and that's what it's going to be going forward, subject to cost of living increases. There's not going to be some point they upgrade you to what you would have gotten if you had waited. It's locked in. At FRA, you're locking it in at your 100% benefit. If you defer past FRA to as late as 70, is as late as you can increase benefit by deferring, you will lock in that benefit thereafter. This is also profound impact on survivor benefits and spousal benefits. Those are things to consider as well when you're turning on your benefit. But we all should understand that this is a part. This is one of our income sources for retirement, and we need to take due care of managing that and make good decisions on that and not take it lightly and don't say, well, it's my money, I want to start it now. One of the things we do at our firm in my day job is a Social Security analysis. We want to look at those options that you have every year going forward. So if you were, say, working with us and you're 58, we're going to run that analysis every year in the strategy meeting to see how things are looking. And situations can change. You shouldn't just look at it and say, oh, okay, I'm going to start it at 68 and a half. This is something that should be looked at every year until each of you in the household have actually turned on the benefits at that point. It's just like we want to do that tax efficiency analysis every year also. Hey, if you want some information, you need some help, you want to have conversations about your money like this, call my office, 504-832-9200. That's whether you're in Baton Rouge, Mandeville, Gulfport, or New Orleans area. Or you could go to GregoryRicks.com, one website, one phone number. Hour 2 is coming up in a few minutes. Hang in there. We'll talk some more.
From the Gregory Ricks & Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO-FM, New Orleans, an iHeartRadio station.
Another death blamed on severe weather. I'm Pam Huso, Fox News. A second person has died in northern Michigan as a result of a tornado. Officials say the victim was in their 70s and lived in a mobile home park. The small community of Gaylord, northwest of Detroit, is usually immune to extreme winds in the springtime since the Great Lakes typically zap the energy out of storms. More than 40 other people were hurt yesterday. Russia has needed a victory in Ukraine, and it apparently got one in Mariupol.
Russia claiming today it has conquered the entire city. They said nearly 2,500 fighters have surrendered, still leaving about 100,000 civilians there in pretty dire straits. Ukraine yet to confirm the loss. Meanwhile, from our team on the ground and many other sources, the fighting in the east is intensifying. Russians blowing up a community center in one town where 200 civilians were said to be sheltering, resulting in casualties. Having failed on several fronts, Moscow is now trying to lock in some solid, contiguous gains in the southeastern part of the country.
Fox's Greg Palcott. More assistance is headed to Ukraine from the U.S. President Biden has signed a $40 billion package into law. He did it while in South Korea. The legislation was flown overseas so it could be signed promptly, but for one U.S. lawmaker who's a native of Ukraine, that relief is overdue.
Indiana Republican Victoria Smart says the U.S. was slow initially in sending weapons and other military aid to her native Ukraine.
We've been dragging our feet for a while, right?
But she says the $40 billion in assistance is moving in the right direction.
Fox's Jared Halpern in Washington. New York City health officials have confirmed a case of monkeypox. Officials say that testing has ruled out a second case. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. Yeah, it's Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. I'm your host, Gregory. You're joining us within 2 weeks of our 12-year anniversary of Winning at Life Radio, the live financial news talk show that's going to try to help you make better financial decisions. And by the way, if you're wanting to stream the show, well, first off, you can watch it. We're over on Facebook Live and YouTube. Hey, everybody out there. So you can watch it on the your big screen if you want. Do not watch it on your car screen driving down the road, okay? Help me with that. Okay, so we got that out the way. So, yeah, you can go to the Winning at Life page to get more information about the show, or GregoryRicks.com in the media tab on the website. Same way you can access it through your smartphone. Hey, got a cool idea for you. How about download the Winning at Life app? Become a part of the Winning at Life Nation. You could get weekly updates on what's going on, news and information about the Ask Gregory podcast. We even do a Wednesday Q&A where we answer your questions as well regarding money, IRAs, 401ks, the changes in the thrift program, that TSP. Yeah, a few weeks ago we kind of talked about changes going forward on that. They've got a blackout period. They're giving more options, but there's going to be fees for that option. It's just not going to be the 5 you've previously done on that. So we cover all kind of stuff here. Probably the number one thing over the years has been Social Security questions, how to make better decisions, how to max your benefit. On the last segment in the last hour, we kind of covered 3 things you can do right now to snag higher Social Security benefits as well. If you want to join the conversation, and that's kind of the magic of the show, is to call. Ask a question. Let's give you some guidance, give you some help and direction. 504-260-0995. You can email me over at info@GregoryRicks.com. I'm going to pull up my email account and see if we have and keep track of if you're reaching out with any questions. And once again, through the Winning at Life app, you can text, email, call the show through the app. So some of the things to talk about, think about today is how's the market impacting you? Do you have some concerns about what's going on? Probably if you do, you're just probably not allocated properly. But you also can't put money into stocks and bonds and think it's never going to go down. And some of you may have been investing past 4, 5, 6 years and thought this thing never goes down. from that standpoint. So, yeah, think about that. I've got a piece here by Bob French I'm going to talk about here in a moment as well regarding what happens after a market drop. I want to, let me grab something else here that I'm wanting to talk with you about. Let's see if I can get this pulled up here. You know, are you one of those like me that keeps a million things open on your computer? Yeah, that exactly is me here. So I've got like all this stuff open. Let's see, can I get here from that standpoint? So 504-260-0995. What I'm going to probably talk to you about right here now as I get it pulled up is kind of a little bit of market history there. Let's see, where might those be on my screen? And then I've got the other problem is I have a gazillion things on my desktop as well. But here we go. Let's take a look at this. You know, one of the things to go back to, you know, where volatility has been out there, and that's where I look at the past 20, 25 years, there's a good bit of volatility out there, and that's something we have to think about. And we had a period of time, and it's just what I'm wanting to point out to you here, is in the year 2000, the S&P 500 was down 9.06%. In 2001, it was down 12.02%. In 2002, it was down 22.15%. And in 2003, it was up 28.5%. But we had 3 years. 2 of those 3 were double-digit negative returns. And that did happen in the past, but outside of those 3 years, we only had 2 other negative years since 2002 in the S&P. One was 2008, minus 37% in the market, and the other was 2018. So look at the run that we've had, and people are just kind of like, oh my gosh, the market's down. You know, one of the discussions I had, and it was a couple years ago, but with the client, and they were stating that they didn't want the market, the account to go down. And I said, well, based on our conversation, it sounds like we need to make some adjustments because you've shifted to more conservative mode. And the response was, oh, I don't want to change anything. I like how it's going. And my response was, but you know it can go down. Yeah, I know, but I don't want it to. Okay, so there's a little disconnect there. We made adjustments for it to be more conservative from that standpoint. But you have to understand, if you are invested in the market, it can go down. Well, we've got another problem going forward. So I wanted to share that with you so you understand. There's history of the market going down and could do so for a few years. So we believe long term it's going to be back higher. History kind of shows that. So with that said, I don't know how long this negative trend goes, but at one point in the future it will come to an end and move back up. It also is discounting. It creates opportunity. But we'll get back to more on that. In hour 3, we'll circle back around to talk about that some more and how you could have proper diversification. I have Jude Heath of J. Heath and Company in studio with me today. And we're going to talk taxes. This is his jam. And I've got big concerns coming forward as I think taxes may go up. Is that a possibility? Hey, Jude, welcome to the show. Thank you, Gregory. Adjust your mic closer to you there. Okay. Turn it a little bit more. There you go on that. And so try it again. Hey, Jude.
Hey, okay. Yeah.
Okay, now everybody can hear you on that. So how did tax season go this year?
Really good. We're actually still in the middle of it.
It seems like it doesn't end anymore, does it?
Well, the main focus right now is for folks that are on extension and owe. We've got to quicken that filing up because penalties are happening. And so every 15th of every month that clicks, they owe another certain percentage. We had a client come in late, new client, didn't know him, and we did not get an extension in for him, and so that's a much bigger penalty. So we are quickening his filing, but those are some of the things that we do.
So is that a problem because he's going to owe money?
Yes, more money, and then of course because he didn't get extended, he'll owe even more penalties.
Ouch.
Yeah, so we're sensitive to that, but every client's different, and we'll get finished probably by the middle of June.
So take us through doing an extension. Is that difficult?
No, for us that on previous clients, it's all just in software, and we evaluate whether they owed last year. We contact them, do you want to make an extension payment? If they had a refund last year and we know their situation hasn't changed, we just process a zero extension and just contact them, letting them know they're extended. And just please, get us their information when they have it pulled together.
Okay, so somebody that's not a client, what should they have done for that? Because there's a lot of people out there doing their own taxes.
Absolutely, we get those folks every year because taxes are getting more complicated. We just had one of your clients actually come in this week, and they tried to extend. And Mississippi rejected their extension, wouldn't let them extend. So they're not extended for Mississippi right now.
But what about the feds?
The feds accepted it.
Okay. Why would that be different? And that's two processes, one to the feds and then to the state where your tax return is due, correct?
Correct. And so I don't know right now why Mississippi rejected the extension, but the good news is that we've got them in our scope. It's going to be a quick turnaround, get them taken care of. And I told them, Mississippi is still sweet. If we can get to the right agent, we might be able to get forgiveness on that penalty.
Oh, how about that? The right agent in that case. Hey, if you've got a tax question, a tax situation, you're looking for a little bit of help, this is the hour for you. Join the conversation. 504-260-0995 or reach out to us through the Winning at Life app. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Learn the ins and outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world. So if you have a financial situation or you just want to learn more about money, ask Gregory. Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app or wherever you get your podcast. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any government agency.
I wish. No shot. My credit sucks. Stop! Nobody cares. But at Mortgage Gumbo, credit don't scare us. We have the knowledge to put you on the right track. We work with Challenge Credit daily and have proven methods to get you on the track to home ownership. So let's start your journey today. Visit SnapSend&Save.com. That's SnapSend&Save.com. It's that easy.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can hear the Ask Gregory podcast, where you'll find episodes based on a financial topic. So if you're looking for help on a specific situation, there's a good chance you'll find it on the Ask Gregory podcast, including episodes on 401ks, taxes, stocks, Social Security, gold, and whether or not you should buy an RV. Hear the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Less than half of Americans have drawn up a will. If you don't have one, you know you need to get one. But what if you do have a will? Is it up to date? Has anyone in your family been married, divorced, or passed away? Have any new family members been born or adopted? Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me, and we'll make you a plan or update your existing plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
Do you like having your money follow where momentum is? Remember, everything cycles in the markets there, and you've got to have proper asset classes. And how about a tactical approach that follows momentum? And if there's a black swan effect, like maybe a pandemic, and not have to suffer all of that downside move. That might be why you should take a look at the Invest 50-50 philosophy. Why? I think, always felt, they're doing it wrong out there. There has to be a better way to help people grow their money and have it positioned to take income from without it being crushed when the markets go down.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I'm hooked on kissing you, getting you turned on, buzzing and loving on you all night long, like a hit song on the radio. You already know.
You're listening to Winning at Life, financial news talk radio. Little hiccup there on my speech. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. We've been doing this show for about 12 years. My day job, a little bit about me. I'm a CEO, founder, and wealth advisor at Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority. We've got offices in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Mandeville, Louisiana, Metairie, Louisiana, that's kind of the New Orleans area, and Gulfport, Mississippi. But with technology, we help people across the nation because of technology. You can do Zoom meetings, of course, since Alexander Graham Bell invented the phone, we could always use the phone, and still, it's just, looks like all cell phones today, or voice over internet. So it's just something what technology allows us to do. But we do Zoom meetings, and that's kind of like in-person meetings. You're just doing it through a computer or your phone. So a lot of reach is out there. But if you're looking to get some help, there's just one number to call, whether you want to do a Zoom meeting or have a phone conversation or come in to one of the offices and visit with a wealth advisor. 504-832-9200. The website is gregoryricks.com. If you're looking to email for some help or question, info@gregoryricks.com. So we have Jude Heath in studio with us this hour of J. Heath and Company. He's one of our show contributors, and he mentions he works with our clients as well. So we help each other out from that standpoint. And Jude's team, I think they're pretty awesome, and Jude's knowledge is incredible. So when we went to break, we're kind of talking about the extension thing, which that is passed, right? So you can't extend. Now, if you got to go through, but could be another extension. Is that possible, or does this take you all the way to October?
Yeah, no, it's one extension.
One extension, and you've ultimately got to get it in by what? October on a personal return, right?
October.
Business return's got to be September.
Correct.
See, I know a little bit about this stuff as well. So, and those extensions can be done electronically.
That's the preferable way.
That's the preferable way. One of the things I learned is that the IRS not long ago destroyed a lot of documents. Did that like send shivers down your spine when you heard about that?
No,
because they're so backed up. They said, "Well, heck, we'll never catch up because it keeps coming in every day." So what they do? Shred?
We have our records, so we don't worry really much about the IRS's records. We, as an example, when we extended during the pandemic for the entities March the 15th, we never got a signature back because the IRS had vacated the buildings with the pandemic. And so we've had arguments with agents. You have to prove your extension sometimes. And we've had, in writing, arguments with agents that our job is not to prove whether you receive it. Our job to prove our extension is to prove that we delivered it through U.S. Postal Mail. Here's our stamp showing we delivered it certified. As far as we know, that thing's still circling Austin right now.
Okay, so that's bringing up a couple of things that people that do it themselves, which they should have help, but if they're doing it themselves, this mailing of the stuff is not a good idea. I was at a conference last week, and that was some of the discussion is do not mail stuff to the IRS. Do it electronically. But if you have to mail it, and it sure shouldn't be money either, but if you have to mail it, it needs to go certified that you've got proof. And make sure you document, whatever you send them, make sure you have copies of.
So, yes, I agree with you, except for one thing we have found post-pandemic, that the only way to respond effectively to one of their notices to get a human being to look at it is by mail. Certified, registered mail. And
well, that was my point, is you shouldn't, but if you've got to, it should be certified so you've got proof, and that gets their attention.
Right. It eventually winds up on some person's desk, and they have to research it.
Okay. Now, calling them regarding a notice, if you do speak with somebody with and I guess eventually reach somebody, get somebody to answer the phone, I hear that's pretty difficult as well, but then they make notes that they had a communication with you.
Yes, the notes are good, and then sometimes they can tell you whether that project or notice has been assigned to someone. They can either tell you, yes, we show receipt, or no, it hasn't been assigned, please be patient.
Okay. So if we're sending them money, what's the best way to do? I know we've talked about that, but I think this is good to circle back around on, and they've got an electronic system. One thing I like about it is instead of sending your estimated tax in quarterly, I like sending it in monthly. You know why? Because I don't like it to pile up because it's not my money. I'd rather it be gone because then I'd look at a balance and I think it's all my money, and it's not. So I like to send, and that's one reason I like that system. But for the listeners that are not aware of this, explain it.
Right, and so EFTPS.gov is their electronic payment plan, a payment system. When you sign up for that, they will hook onto your bank account, send you one of those little debits that you record in. They'll send you a PIN. That's your PIN. Please don't lose it. And then from there on out, you can pay your payments at will. You can pay it by paycheck if you want. You can pay it monthly, or you can wait and pay it quarterly. And so it gives you a lot of flexibility to budget your finances accordingly, because you're right, one of the things we find most frequent is, I just had this conversation with a lady that was in crypto last year, and she was like, well, it took all my money. And I said, no, that was the IRS's money. You just held it in your account for a little while. But it's gone now, and it needs to be paid accordingly.
Yeah, and that's where people get in trouble, is spending Uncle Sam's money when they should have sent it to Uncle Sam.
Correct. It's just so much easier, and just personal budgeting wise, if you you don't have that. Even though it feels safe and comfortable, most people don't really think of it as being IRS's money. Most people still think of it as, okay, that's my safe money, and we have to remind them sometimes that no, let's just get that off, and you'll make more. Let's just get that off.
Yeah, and that one another reason to use that system is to make sure they get their money versus going through the mail in case it sits on somebody's desk over there for a little while. Give them that website again to set up that electronic payment.
Sure, it's EFTPS.gov.
Did you have another thought you were going to share on that?
Well, yeah, one other thought for preparing your taxes, very nice is that you can print a report showing all of your tax payments, either turn in the person preparing your return or for your own uses. It keeps record of your tax payments, kind of sort of like you, so you don't have to.
So are you aware of how some of these do-it-yourself tax returns work? Are they creating paper returns that have to be mailed in, or do they all go electronically now? Because you as a CPA, tax professional, and it's kind of your jam, I know all that stuff goes to the IRS electronically that you do. But what about those do-it-yourself type programs?
Well, of course, the biggest one is TurboTax, and we know that's electronic. Most of them are electronic. There are some of the free file things that are PDF-based, which I would imagine is a sign and mail. We've even seen some that don't even add the return, which we strongly advise. At least use something that calculates the return for you. Don't be hand calculating your return and plugging those numbers into a PDF. So, but they're all across the board, and we see them come in, and of course they're coming in wanting to change over to us, and so I think preparing your own taxes in one of these off-known services is kind of clunky and seems like it'd be difficult. You'd be working on it every night. It's almost like a hobby.
I was at a conference last week. In the next segment, we're going to probably talk about two different things. The taxes looks like they're going up. It's kind of already baked in the cake. We'll talk about it from your standpoint there. The Secure Act also is, they came out with some regulations regarding RMDs, and it altered some what we thought were assumptions of how it's going to work, and gosh, they gave clarification, and it's like, no, this is how it's going to work in that case. So I want to talk about that with you in the next segment a little bit. It kind of like it justifies why people need you, why they need me, why they need our firms to help them through this maze. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We'll be right back.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Learn the ins and outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world. From rising inflation and higher taxes in retirement to market volatility, your 401k to your IRA, your pension to your Social Security to Medicare. Got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do? Ask Gregory. Ask Gregory is our new podcast with the financial topics broken down into specific little chunks. So if you have a financial situation or you just want to learn more about money, ask Gregory. Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any government agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to GregoryRicks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC, and Gregory Ricks and Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live 6 days a week. And if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
We are living in historic times, extraordinary times. A lot of people need help right now, and I want you to remember your local food bank. Now here in New Orleans, it's Second Harvest Food Bank over in Mobile. They've got Feeding the Goal. But you can find your local food bank, feedingamerica.org. Food donations, monetary donations, or I know you've got some free time. Find your local food bank. Support your local food bank, especially in times like this. Do some good. feedingamerica.org.
Fox News, I'm Karen McHugh. At a state dinner in Seoul, South Korea, President Biden raised a toast to his host, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol.
We've had very productive meetings today, and even more importantly, we've gotten a chance to get to know one another personally.
The president earlier signed the $40 billion aid package for Ukraine. Russia is claiming its forces have conquered a major city in Ukraine.
We hear sirens on a regular basis. Russian strikes are hitting the broader region, but it looks like that heroic and nearly 3-month siege of Ukrainian defenders at that Mariupol steel mill is over. Russia claiming today it has conquered the entire city. They said nearly 2,500 fighters have surrendered, still leaving about 100,000 civilians there in pretty dire straits. Ukraine yet to confirm the loss.
Fox's Greg Palcott. America is listening to Fox News.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Everything that kills me makes me feel alive. I've been losing sleep.
Hey, y'all. If you want to join the conversation, Jude Heath of J. Heath & Company CPAs, you got a question about your tax return, what should you do? You need some help, guidance? Hey, he's here in studio with us, 504-2600-995. And I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. Our objective is to help you make better decisions with your money. So taxes going up. What should we do? Here's what I'm at. You know, the Tax Cut Jobs Act that was passed during President Trump's early in his administration was temporary. So it's going to sunset January 1 of 2026. So kind of what I'm looking at from that standpoint, we have lower tax brackets and larger brackets. And kind of what I see is the sweet spot is the 12 to 24% range, but that 12% bracket is $20,551 to $83,550. That's for married filing jointly. We're not going to go through all the single and other variations of that. Way too many numbers to feed to you. But when we get above $83,550, we jump to 22%, which is a range. And I'm going to round here, so I don't give out too many numbers. But just call it 83,000 to 178,000 is that 22% bracket. And 2% more, taking us to 24, is 178,000 to 340,000. The standard deduction for a couple is $25,900. Personal exemptions are eliminated. And ultimately, I kind of look at that sweet spot as 22% to 24%. One of the things I look at when we run our tax efficiency analysis is there any margin left? I hate wasting tax opportunity there. That would be an example of somebody's income. And let's just use the 12%, for example, that they're, when it's said and done, their taxable income, and we'll just call it $50,000. Well, there's $33,000 of margin left there in that 12% tax bracket. The why I bring that up is, gosh, we can convert some money from traditional IRA qualified money to a Roth account at a 12% bracket and allow that money to grow and create tax-free benefits in the future. If you're in the 22% bracket, and let's say your income is $100,000, well, there's $78,000 of margin there. Like, is there an opportunity to shift some money to create efficiency for the future? So that's kind of one reason we do that, to see where are the efficiencies. Your thoughts on what I just shared with you?
Absolutely. I think anybody approaching retirement are worried about the two things that you just talked about. If they've got some money left over in their bracket, they're asking the question, are tax rates going to go up? And given where we are with the spending, and it's not going to go down, it's a safe bet to assume that the middle brackets are going to take a hit. It's not all going to fall on the 35 or the 37% bracket. Like Gregory's saying, at least the brackets that are in the 20s are going to take a nice hit, regardless of the expiration of the lower brackets with the Trump law sunsetting. It's just going to take some extra tax money to be able to take care of the government spending. And so we're cautioning those clients that come in and say, hey, do you think taxes are going up? I've got a little bit of money left over in my bracket. I'd like to think about trying to convert over. Yes, those are absolutely smart ideas. That's something we should look at, because every year that clicks by is a year that you left a little money on the table.
And being, one of those rules out there, age 72 for qualified money, you have to start taking required minimum distributions, and that's going to escalate through retirement. So if you've converted that money to Roth, it takes it off the table. There's no required minimum distributions on Roth accounts. So you're not going to be forced to take maybe money that you don't need. But if we've got opportunity, it goes to the compounding of money. If we could just say, shift 100,000 over a few years, just keep the math simple, 100,000. If you can average 7.2%, you're taking and growing tax-free money. You've taken in 100,000, shifted it to the Roth side. If you could let it work for 10 years, hypothetically get that return, now you've got $200,000. And if it could work another 10 years, now you've got $400,000. You've grown $300,000 of assets that Uncle Sam is not going to ever tax you on. When you die and leave it on, they're not going to tax it. And I believe everybody's got more time than they think. Average, if you make it, a couple makes it to 65, average life expectancy for the males, late 80s, early 90s for the female. So when you're thinking about your money's going to have time and you're going to need it. And guess what? If it's not taxed, what does it do? It goes further down the line. So we're pro taking advantage of these opportunities. So we've got a window, and this window we're talking about, and I just gave you 20, and I'm around the 22% through 24% is a range of $83,000 to $340,000, where there's just a 2% difference that you could shift money. Now, converting it, there's a problem with converting it. It's going to create a tax bill. So you either have savings to pay that, or you have that paid through the conversion process. Take some of that money to pay the tax bill. But what you're doing is if you can give that money time, you're growing tax-free money. And you got to think more, I believe, on the compounding side of that for the future. You agree?
Yes, we encourage our clients that are going to make this conversion to pay their taxes up front and don't take it away from the compounding.
Now, what is this going to in 2026, based on law? And I've got a number of articles, Wall Street Journal, Market Watch, Barron's, a number of articles on my blog reference that blog's the news blog over at GregoryRicks.com. And we regularly post up articles that I read and reference on the show. But that 22% bracket I spoke of, that's 83,000 to 178,000, is going to be 25% with a range of 75,000 to 153,000. That 24% is going to 28% with a range of 153,000 to 233,000. So they've lopped, not only is that 24 going to 28, they've lopped 100,000 off of that bracket, and they lowered the entry point from 178 to 153. I'm not saying they've lowered it. That's what it was, and it's set to go back to. How do we avoid this going back? How does that happen? Can we avoid it? Something we can do?
No. What they've done is they've sort of shortened the brackets so that you're into the higher brackets sooner. So not only have they added to the rate, they've shortened the brackets, and so that's kind of like a double sting.
Yeah, it is. And that's why this is important, because we're in let's see, we're May of 2022, so we know we've got less than 4 years of this coming, which is a unique opportunity. Now, I'll answer your question, the question I asked you a different way. It'll take Congress and a president signing off to keep this bracket system permanent. I don't see that happening because of the debt going up and the spending going up. Oh my gosh, the government has spent so much money the past couple years. Trillions of dollars has been added to the debt. So I'm going to put out a question that we're going to address when we come back from this break for our last segment is, who should be considering Roth conversions? Should the top tax brackets be considering that? We'll talk about that when we come back and update you some information on required minimum distributions. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I wanted to talk about teachers and those that aren't participating in Social Security. When they were teachers, policemen, regardless of your age, if you're not paying into Social Security through your payroll, your Social Security benefits are going to be affected in the future. One of the key things to do is think about that now and how you're going to feel at 60, 65, or 70 when you find out that if your spouse dies, you might not get their benefits, that you're not participating in Social Security. So if it's not coming out of your check, Social Security benefits down the road are going to be greatly affected. You might want to investigate now how that's going to affect you.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mom, it stinks.
Hush, I'm almost done.
All right, now you're safe from bugs in the backyard. Don't let mosquitoes ruin your outdoor fun. Call Mosquito Joe today. When you call, they come out and they do the spraying. Mosquito Joe's time-release capsule lasts for about a month. No more sticky bug sprays. Take back your backyard. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Riggs. Something that's come up is, if you're not at your old job, maybe your 401k shouldn't be either. But do you really know why we say that? Ask Gregory is our new podcast with financial topics broken down into specific little chunks. So if you have a financial situation or you just want to learn more about money, ask Gregory. Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app or wherever you get podcasts. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any government agency.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
I'm young, I'm 22 years old, and I'm just now starting to get into the 401k and the percentage and stuff. How much money do I need to save to, retire around, 60, 65 years old?
So first off, one of the first rules, if you're getting a match, you need to get 100% of the match. The match is free money. Those that are putting off turning on their 401k goes like, oh, I need that money every month. No, you need to get the match. That's the priority. What's great for you is you're taking advantage of one of the greatest things on the planet, and that's compound interest and time. At age 22, you're not going to have to put away a lot to achieve this goal versus if you wait to 35 or 40, it's going to seem like a mountainous task.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
If you got a kiss on your lips that you're looking for somebody to take. If you got a heart that ain't afraid to love, ain't afraid to break.
Hey, y'all. You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio with Gregory Ricks. I am your host, Gregory Ricks. You know, that Mosquito Joe, it's that time of year. Oh, zzz. You do that good on that commercial, by the way, that little buzz thing. It's kind of like you can just hear it flying near your ear. I hate those things, and they just ruin a good time. Wife and I like to, and her name's Stacy, is we have a swing outside, so we kind of like sometimes in the evening get in, have a glass of Cabernet, go out for a swing and just relax and talk, and it's good to not hear any buzzing. We got to get Mosquito Joe to spray outside of our perimeter. Might have to talk to them about that because she says, when I go outside the perimeter, I get bothered by those things. So we're big fans. Mosquito, NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. Tell them Gregory sent you. Show them some love for getting those nuisance away from you as well. Okay, so we went to break, and I brought up a topic for us and in the conference I was at last week, and I do this a couple times, but Ed Slott, I'd say one of the foremost IRA trainers out there on qualified plans. I've been a member of that group for years, and I credit a lot of my knowledge to that exposure. And we were near the end, and one of the individuals asked him, said, look, what about that top tax bracket, where we kind of focus on this 22 to 24% sweet spot, but you got some people that make more money, and as well as could they get pushed into higher tax brackets, and should the top tax brackets, which currently is 37% from the brackets, but there's a little bit more added on there as well, situational. But that top tax bracket looks like going to revert back to 39.6%, and that's at 470,000 or more. Remember, I rounded down slightly, but that 37% currently is 640,000 or more. But let's just say you're somebody that's in that 32 or 35%, and they were asking, well, should these top tax brackets convert? And yeah, they're going to pay more in taxes. Well, his response was, if you're a high-income earner now, you're probably going to always be a high-income earner. And whenever you hear discussions from a government standpoint, we don't have to name names, but you know what it generally is. They're talking about who do they want to raise taxes on? It's the high-income earners. So Ed basically said, if you're a high-income earner, you're probably always going to be one. And he said, yes, you should convert. You're not going to end up in lower taxes. You're going to end up in higher and get that money to growing tax-free. And your taxes are likely to be going up. They're not going down. So he said, even if you're in those brackets, it makes sense to start converting money to Roth and create a strategy to start chipping away at that. We don't have to, and regardless of whether you're in a 12%, 24, 35, 37, I think it's a plan of chipping away at it. We're not going to convert my whole $1 million IRA or convert my $400,000 401k. It is a plan to chip at it. It might not make sense to convert the whole thing. Probably rarely does. But it does make sense to start chipping at it to where if you've got some margin and it might shift 10,000 a year or 30,000 a year, and it might only be a window that works for you for a few years. But those are the situations. You know, we've worked with people in the past that's done it every year for a decade to where they've made a really big dent in their qualified money. It's just we know we're not moving into favorable tax times because we don't have a government like, oh my gosh, citizens of the U.S., guess what? We're bringing in more revenue than we spend. It's ridiculous. We're piling up money, so we're going to pass it along to you. That's never happened in the history, has it?
Nope, no.
You're laughing over there.
No,
that was funny. Like, citizens, we got great news. We have excess revenues. We're cutting taxes more. It's not happening. Not going to. They're not wired that way to, if they're getting in more, they're going to spend more than they're getting in. So if they increase revenues, well, they got to spend some more there. So the point is, you've got to consider at chipping away with that. And that's one reason we run a tax efficiency strategy at the firm and create those conversations, and people need to run it through you or talk to you. And if they're not using a professional, I said, well, you've got to start using Jude Heath on this. But we want them to, that tax efficiency analysis, taking a forward look at what are efficiencies out there, what are opportunities. And if you're selling property or selling a business, you need to look ahead to see how to handle that. There are opportunities. You know, there's situations where maybe a charitable remainder trust could be useful. Donor advisor funds. You know, you've got to look at impact or how to structure these sales to make that work efficiently for you. These Roth conversions, where are there opportunities? I just can't emphasize it enough. So I don't run out of time here. How do the listeners reach out to J. Heath and Company?
Well, they can call your office.
Absolutely. We will hook them up.
Right. And then my website is jheathcpa.com.
Okay. And my website is gregoryricks.com. And on the Winning at Life page, in the media tab, we have information about the show contributors, and you're one of them, along with Wes Blanchard and Dwayne Stein, that regularly contribute to the show. So if they're looking for some help along those lines. So one of the surprising things that has came out recently, and we spent a good bit of time at the conference, is regarding required minimum distributions. And that wealth is being transferred as people age and die. For most beneficiaries, meaning I'm referencing non-spouse beneficiaries, there are certain beneficiaries that I believe, if I'm using the right terminology, let me get over here to my page, and Jude can attest. I've got some big binders here from the conference with a lot of tabs marked on there. And, when we're looking at that, it is the type of beneficiaries that are non-spouse beneficiaries. So the clarification came that's most impactful is required beginning date of RMDs. And that's when a person, did they start RMDs or not? And was death before or after required beginning date? So non-spouse beneficiaries, there's some exceptions like young people, children, the disabled, such as that. But for a non-spouse beneficiary, say the adult children are inheriting the money, that's most of the time the case, is if it was after they started taking RMDs, there's a 10-year payout of that account, meaning that inherited IRA account has to be emptied in year 10. If they had started taking required minimum distributions, that beneficiary is going to have to take RMDs 1 through 9. Before, there was not clarity on that. The assumption was, well, they've got to take it all out in year 10. Well, no, they've got to start taking it 1 through 9 based upon their age if they're a named beneficiary. Then they've got to take the remainder out year 10 subject to the anniversary of death. It's not quite calendar year following. So those are little details that you have to know, or who you're working with understands that. Now, if death occurred before the required beginning date of RMDs, you don't have to take the RMDs 1 through 9, but that account does have to be emptied out in year 10. And there's not RMDs on Roth accounts. There's a lot more to that regulation because I've got pages and pages here noted. We spent hours going through this last week, and some colleagues of mine that was in the audience, I got up to take a break. I needed some more coffee to stay focused on this, and I said, this makes what we do even more important, to make sure you're working with somebody that's qualified and understands how all these rules work, and stay abreast of it to put your interests first, like I do for you, and as well as Jude does also. If you want to join us and get more information, here's my office number, 504-832-9200. The website's GregoryRicks.com. We're going to be back here in about 6 minutes for hour 3. Jude's not going to be here, but he'll be back with us in a couple weeks. Reach out to us. See you in a few.
From the Gregory Ricks and Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO-FM, New Orleans, an iHeartRadio station.
It didn't take long for a tornado to do devastating damage. I'm Pam Puso, Fox News. 2 people were killed when a twister touched down in northern Michigan yesterday. Much of the downtown area of Gaylord was decimated.
It took probably about 3 minutes for the tornado to go through town. It was moving fairly quickly. The storm was moving about 55 miles an hour. So that's fairly quick. The storm, we believe, as a rough estimate, was on the ground for approximately 26 minutes.
John Boris with the National Weather Service. One of the victims died in a mobile home park that officials say was about 95% destroyed. Much of the town's power was knocked out. A state of emergency has been declared. A candid phone conversation between the leaders of Finland and Turkey as Turkey expresses concerns about Finland's intent to join NATO amid Russia's war in Ukraine. In a tweet, the Finnish president said the two countries will commit to each other's security. Turkey is worried about Finland's ties to the Kurds. Renewed commitment to the alliance between the U.S. and South Korea. President Biden is in Seoul, where talks were largely focused on North Korea's nuclear program. Some wisdom from America's top military officer to the graduating class of cadets at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point.
General Mark Milley told the approximately 1,000 graduates that they are becoming newly commissioned lieutenants in a time of fundamental change and unique challenge for America, the likes of which have not been seen since the end of World War II.
It will be your generation that will carry the burden and shoulder the responsibility to maintain the peace.
Milley specifically singled out Russia and China as examples of those who want to upset and change the current world order.
Fox's Kevin Uretsky. America's listening to Fox News.
Jason in the House, the Jason Chaffetz Podcast. There is always someone doing something stupid somewhere. Dive deeper than the headlines and the party lines as I take on American life, politics, and entertainment. Join me, Jason Chaffetz, every Wednesday as I shed light on the news and make some predictions along the way. You never know who will drop in. Subscribe now on foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts.
Connect to Fox News Audio and the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
Desperately needed baby formula is on its way to the U.S. from Europe. Military aircraft are transporting hundreds of pallets of hypoallergenic formula. Many parents across the country have been struggling to feed their babies amid a deepening shortage. The White House had been hoping that a public health order would be lifted Monday at our southern border, but a federal judge is keeping it in place for now.
A judge is not satisfied with their post-Title 42 plan, and so in this ruling, part of it says the record supports the plaintiff state's position that the termination order will result in increased border crossings and that, based on the government's estimates, the increase may be as high as threefold, and that could crush border towns with limited resources.
Fox's Peter Ducey, the Department of Justice, is appealing. A statewide recount is likely in Pennsylvania, where the contest for an open U.S. Senate seat is too close to call. As of yesterday afternoon, Republican Mehmet Oz was leading David McCormick by just over 1,000 votes. If a recount is triggered, the results of the race may not be known until early June. New leadership is coming in Australia.
Despite millions of votes yet to be counted, Australia's Conservative Prime Minister Scott Morrison conceding to opposition leader Anthony Albanese, the Labour Party, on its way to grabbing a majority of the 151 seats in the House of Representatives. It's the party's first win since 2007. An Australian Prime Minister must attend a summit in Tokyo on Tuesday, and Morrison said he wants the country to be able to move forward with certainty. The Labour Party has promised more financial assistance and a robust social safety net as Australia grapples with the highest inflation since 2001 and soaring housing prices.
That's Fox's Samantha Liebman. I'm Pam Huso, and this is Fox News.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Something that's come up on the show over the last 10 years is that if you're not at your old job, maybe your 401k shouldn't be either. But do you really know why we say that? It's a funny thing. We put a few $100 in our 401k every month. It ends up to be thousands of dollars every year, hundreds of thousands of dollars over our career. And you don't really know that much about it. How do you invest it? How do you diversify? buy? What do you buy? What do you avoid? You've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do. Ask Gregory. Ask Gregory is our new podcast with these financial topics broken down into specific little chunks. So if you have a financial situation or you just want to learn more about money, ask Gregory. Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app or wherever you get podcasts. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any government agency.
Welcome. You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. To join the conversation, give us a call, 504-260-0995, or you can check our website out, GregoryRicks.com. Also, remember to download the app. You can find the app for Winning at Life. Also, Winning at Life and all other network. We're live right now streaming on YouTube, also on Facebook. And right now we're going to go ahead and take a call. Walter and Carrier.
Hey, Walter. You're on Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. How can we help you, sir?
Good morning, gentlemen. Enjoying the show.
Awesome. Thanks.
Question on the Social Security. I'm 60. My wife is 62. 61. Next year she'll be eligible for Social Security. She has not worked. She's been able, with I work, and she's been able to stay home and play ground ball for the past 10 years or so. So we're thinking about turning on her Social Security when she turns 62 in order to help pay down debt before I hopefully retire around 65. So I guess, is that a kind of a, my question is that sound feasible, or should we wait on hers, or?
Who is going to have the largest Social Security benefit between you two?
I am.
Okay. And she's turning hers on based on her work record, right?
Correct, yes, sir.
Does she have 35 years in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, she's taking a pretty good haircut on that. That's not going to be made up in the future.
Yeah, I figured that, but however, whenever I turned my on, then she would be able to file off of mine, correct?
Well, if it's a larger, if 50% of your benefit based on your FRA, which is going to be 67, if that's a larger benefit, but it still receives that haircut doesn't go away just because you're turning it on. She's locking in that reduction even when she switches to yours. Were you aware of that? So
yeah, I knew that it would be lower than what was expected, but I would think that it would still be, I'm going based off of the Social Security website, when if you put on out down at the bottom what her expected would be when I turned mine on, it's definitely an increase in what she would be able would be making based off of her work.
Okay, let me do some math real quick here, just to make this simple to understand. Let's say her, and I'm going to use everything based on age 67. Let's say your benefit's going to be $2,000 a month at 67. Mm-hmm. And her benefit at 67, let's make it simple, is going to be $800 a month if she waited till then. But you would have to turn yours on for her to get that record as well, to that increase. So assuming everything being equal, hers is $800 and yours is $2,000. So 50% of yours would be $1,000. So yes, that would be a larger benefit, and it will increase her benefit by $200 if we were all waiting till then. But she's going to turn hers on at 62, and that $800 is going to be reduced. When she switches to that 1,000 benefit, it's going to be reduced by the same percentage that the 800 was. So you'll get some increase. It's not going to be a lot.
Yeah, okay.
In that case. But that haircut goes forward to when she switches to your benefit if it's going to be a larger benefit. I don't have a problem with turning it on, long as you understand how it works going forward. You've got the largest benefit, and we really need that benefit to go to FRA.
And for all listeners, just understanding kind of conceptually how this goes. So if she turns it on at 62 or her FRA at 67, by age 80, no matter which one she turns on, she's going to basically have withdrawn the same amount over that period, because the 67 is larger than the 62, but the 62's coming out for 5 years earlier. So she does receive that money. It's just living beyond age 80, assuming she's in good health. You both make it to 65. She's living to 90-something. You're living to late 80s. And she's going, when you pass, she's going to draw the larger check. But beyond age 80, if you waited to FRA, you're receiving more money thereafter, or even deferred to 70 than you would have at age 62. 62, you're locking it in. But I don't have a problem with the smaller account turning on earlier, because it does help. And that's where ultimately the decision is, where rubber meets the road, is kind of what I always like to say. That's the difference makers. If you need that money to make things work long time, then that's the right decision.
You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Great caller there. If you want to join the conversation, 504-2600-995. Hey, a few things I want to talk about this hour. We're going to talk a little bit about Social Security, tax. We're going to talk about some taxes, what you should think about going forward, maybe from an opportunity to create tax-free income. Take advantage of the efficiencies that might be available for you, and also a consideration of taxes going up. If you want to join the conversation, 504-2600-995. If you have worries about what's going on, how should you be investing, or how you should be allocating that 401k, or how might you be looking to take advantage of tax efficiencies moving forward. We want to save taxes, and I think we've got an environment going forward, regardless of your level of income, of taxes going up. So once again, if you want to join the conversation, 504-2600-995. Reach out to us through the Winning at Life app. You can text, email, or call the show through the Winning at Life app. And you can watch the show. We're over on Facebook Live and YouTube channel as well. More information about that through the Winning at Life app, or winningatlife.com, or gregoryricks.com in the media tab. So a lot to talk about, lots been going on. Just, one of things bothering people is what's happened after 20 weeks in this calendar year. The S&P 500 is down 17.7% year-to-date total return through the close of market yesterday, May 20th. The S&P 500 consists of 500 stocks chosen for market size, liquidity, and industry group representation. So if you're fully invested in the market, you kind of got dinged. If you were diversified asset classes, then you should not have as much impact. And you should understand this is the normal process. The market doesn't always go up. I'll talk more about that when we come back from the break. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. If you want to join the conversation when we come back, 504-2600-995. See you in a moment.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Riggs. Something that's come up is if you're not at your old job, maybe your 401k shouldn't be either. But do you really know why we say that? Ask Gregory is our new podcast with financial topics broken down into specific little chunks. So if you have a financial situation or you just want to learn more about money, ask Gregory. Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app or wherever you get podcasts. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any government agency.
Hey, you. Yes, you driving. Keep those eyes on the road. This is Dwayne Stein. And are you or someone you know tired of those nosy and noisy neighbors? Ditch the rent. Visit Snap, Send, and Save JADCAM. In less than 5 minutes, you can start your journey to home ownership. It's never been easier. Visit Snap, Send, and Save JADCAM. It's that easy.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can hear the Ask Gregory podcast, where you'll find episodes based on a financial topic. So if you're looking for help on a specific situation, there's a good chance you'll find it on the Ask Gregory podcast, including episodes on 401ks, taxes, stocks, Social Security, gold, and whether or not you should buy an RV. Hear the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
If you've been listening to Winning at Life for a while now, you probably already know that estate planning is more than just a will. You may need a trust. You definitely need both of your powers of attorney. So what's your plan? Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney of offices in Metairie. Listen, don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me and we'll make you a plan or update your existing plan. Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
One of the core jobs with annuities that goes back hundreds of years is to guarantee income for life. It has that option in there. We like to use it as a distribution tool of income that, markets go all to hell and your assets won't go down. So that should be part of your blend to help levelize volatility with some risk-averse assets that's going to grow despite what's going on in the markets. It can be pension-like money, and a lot of what we do is bond-like money in that world. Bond-like is what annuities do, not what they are.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
When was the last time you did something for the first time? Let yourself go and follow that feeling.
Hey, y'all. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, live financial news talk radio. I am your host, Gregory Ricks. A little bit about me. I'm a CEO, founder, and wealth advisor at Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority. Financial services where we help people with their money, very process-driven. We are kind of 5 focal areas in my day job we help people with is income planning, investment planning, estate planning, tax planning, and healthcare planning. We also work areas of cash management, risk management, and we have some added value areas also. If you're looking for some help, you're listening to the show, but like, gosh, I need to call them. Here's a number to call, whether you want to do a Zoom meeting, wherever you are in the country, or if you want to come to offices in Baton Rouge, Mandeville, Gulfport, New Orleans area, it's 504-832-9200. The website's GregoryRicks.com. And I've been in this industry for decades, so it's one of the reasons I'm here in this chair is to provide you information. And one of the magic things about the show we've been doing in 2 weeks, it'll be 12 years on the air. 12 years. The magic is the callers, and that's like Chris. He called 504-260-0995. Welcome to the show, Chris from Jackson. How can we help you today?
Hey, thank you. Good afternoon.
question. I'm always trying to do numbers and do all that good mess. Look, my question is, could my 401 that I have, I kind of have a goal, and I didn't know if I could or not, but I wanted to sync my 401k, just get my 401k and put it on my house and put on the principal of my house. Would they tax me and all that if I put all that I had, didn't take none out, put it straight on my house? Is that still taxable if they do that, or if I did that? Or can I do that?
The simple answer is yes. They're going to tax it because it will be a distribution from your qualified account. Question one.
Right.
Are you still working for the employer?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the only way you could take it out is if they allow in-service rollovers. That would be in the plan documents. And also, typically that's for those that are over age 59 and a half, but all plans don't allow in-service, which means you can take it out while you're working there. Another method, and there was a discussion that came up the other day in the office on a case scenario where we had somebody call in and ask a question about, hey, I'm wanting to buy some land, and can I borrow money out of my 401k to do so? And I don't think in that situation he didn't have enough to be able to borrow to buy the land, but we're not favorable of those ideas. And even if you had left your employer and had the money still sitting in your 401k and wanting to take a distribution, it's still going to be taxable because it is a distribution. So they're going to tax you. If you're younger than age 59 and a half, and there's some exceptions on the 10% rule, but you might well have a 10% penalty also in doing that. And to answer that question, would it be viable? Well, there's a tax bill coming with it, subject to what your tax bracket's going to be. And some cases it might be justifiable, others not. I'd say every situation is different, but do it with caution. That creates an expensive property because you got to pay that tax bill.
Right. Well, that's what I kind of figured. I kind of figured just do what I've been doing and leave it alone and don't worry about it. That's what I was kind of thinking, but I didn't know if you could do anything of that nature. But feasible, the best thing to do is just leave it alone.
Yeah. So tell me about, and this is regarding your home property. You've got a mortgage, looking at paying it off. So how many years do you have left on it?
Oh, I still got probably about 15 or so.
15 years. Are you paying extra at all on it?
I have been here the last half a year, and I am doing that now. Yeah. So I was it was kind of iffy there for a little bit, and it was kind of struggling there for a little bit. But I'm kind of back on top of the game. So now I'm building back up now is what I'm doing. So it's the way I'm going now. So I'm all right. So now I'm starting to put money back in my principal now. I was just trying to get showing a way to get a lot off of me.
Okay. Well, here's a couple ideas that I'll add, because my wife and I, and that's Stacy, and I are, for years, we've been adding more to each payment. But something that she wanted to do, and I was fine with, is she said, I'm going to send them a payment every 2 weeks. Instead of doing it once a month, split it in half and make a payment every 2 weeks. That's also the equivalent of paying an extra payment a year also. So those are little things that make progress, and doesn't seem like a lot right now, but it will reduce your interest and pay it off quicker over time. So a couple ideas there, and just be careful on using 401k money to buy or pay off mortgages because you got a tax bill coming on that. Thanks for calling, Chris. Thanks for listening to Winning at Life. Awesome question. You know what? We get those questions a lot over the years as well regarding those 401ks and wanting to pay off mortgages. And there's no simple answer to that. And there's some times where I've been asked that question and I'm kind of good with the decision. Most of the time, I'm probably giving caution as well from that standpoint. Give you a few other data points here, and if anybody else got a question, hey, safe place to call and get some help. 504-2600-995. The S&P 500 closed at 3901 yesterday, May 20th, down 18.7% from its all-time closing high of 4797, set on January the 3rd of this year, 2022. The S&P 500 has closed at least 20% below a previous closing high 6 times in the last 50 years, since 1972. The most recent bear was a 33-day tumble of 33.9% that bottomed out on March 23rd of 2020, not long ago, or 26 months ago, not long ago, in the early days of the pandemic. So once again, these events where the markets make adjustments don't happen a lot, but they are kind of painful. And once again, I'm a big believer of diversification in asset classes besides inside of an asset class having diversification. I like some money in stocks. I like to do it through exchange traded funds. I like the indices because they skew historically higher returns than active management. And if you're doing stock picking, be careful with that. I like me some bonds, but shorter duration and bond-like tools inside of exchange traded funds, once again, because I want some of my money to be conservative. I also like quantitative tactical. I'll define that as I want some of my money following momentum. And if there's momentum or there's a downturn, it may go to cash. I only want that done with some of my assets, not everything, but I want some following momentum. And sometimes it may take a pause and be to cash and then get back to work, because there's always a rotation of what's in favor. And fourth asset class, I like me some fixed indexed annuities, but I dislike most of them. But there's a few I like for growth orientation where I can get the upside of an index, a portion of the upside of the index. Why do I like that? Because my money can't go negative. It can't go, I don't get any of the downside. So that gives me 4 asset classes that helps me with rotation as well. Because what do I want with my money? I want an increased opportunity for success long range. I want my money having a better chance of working and rotating in favor to keep me on course. Another reason I like this, it helps me avoid making bad decisions as an investor, and I'm speaking in general. I make good decisions, but I don't want to interrupt the compounding of my money. Listeners of the show kind of know that was my fascination when I was a kid. I love that when you put money to work, it makes money, and that money makes money, and that money makes money. You know, over 90% of Warren Buffett's wealth came after he qualified for Social Security. Why? He never interrupted the compounding of his money. And he's, 98 or something like that? Yeah, you're going to need your money to keep working well in retirement. So let's make some good decisions going forward. Let me help. I'm going to be right back out on the break here in like 3 minutes. Call us, 504-260-0995.
Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Learn the ins and outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world. From rising inflation and higher taxes in retirement to market volatility, your 401k to your IRA, your pension to your Social Security to Medicare. Got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do? Ask Gregory. Ask Gregory is our new podcast with the financial topics broken down into specific little chunks. So if you have a financial situation or you just want to learn more about money, ask Gregory. Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any government agency.
If you're unprepared for current market volatility and concerned about how it could impact you, take action now. I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you devise a strategy to navigate this market. Make sure you're still on track to reach your financial goals. Schedule a visit at GregoryRicks.com. We are Gregory Ricks & Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC, and Gregory Ricks & Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live 6 days a week. And if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Cancer Crusaders has been raising funds for cancer research in New Orleans since 1976. Cancer Crusaders, Inc. is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization with no administrative overhead. Cancer Crusaders has raised over $4 million so far, and all of that money goes to the Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center Foundation and the Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, where they are literally working on a cure for cancer. Get involved, donate, volunteer, or attend a fundraiser. CancerCrusadersLA.com.
Fox News, I'm Karen McHugh. 2 deaths have now been confirmed resulting from Friday's tornado which struck the town of Gaylord, Michigan. The latest victim was in their 70s and lived in a mobile home park. Experts say it was a fast-moving storm.
It took probably about 3 minutes for the tornado to go through town. It was moving fairly quickly. The storm was moving about 55 miles an hour. So that's fairly quick. The storm, we believe, as a rough estimate, was on the ground for approximately 26 minutes.
National Weather Service meteorologist John Boris. Today's graduates of the U.S. Military Academy heard from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Revolutionary change is going to occur while you are in service. And right now, at this very moment, a fundamental change is happening in the very character of war. General Mark Milley delivering the commencement address at West Point. America is listening to Fox News.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Ain't it fun?
Hey everyone, you're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. You want to join the conversation? Let me check, see if got any recent text or anything. Here's the number, 504-2600-995. Got a bunch of downloads on the Winning at Life app. Yeah, it's a great tool. It gets you to be a part of the Winning at Life Nation. You can text, email, call the show. We give you weekly updates. You'll get the Wednesday Q&A, information about the Ask Gregory podcast, and a great resource for you is over on the news blog at gregoryricks.com because we post articles and such that I find of interest. And I've got a piece here from Bob French, and he's got a piece here we're going to add on to it as well. What happens after the market drops? He's got noted here, they talk a lot about the importance of staying disciplined and the problems with market timing lately. Staying disciplined and avoiding market timing are two of the best investing tips we could give, whether the market is up or down. But what happens after the market drops? Last summer, when everyone was worried about China and Greece, dimensional fund investors looked into what happens after the market has a sharp drop. The results were quite interesting. In short, the market rebounds pretty quickly and the higher returns persist long after the initial drop. Now, to figure this out, they looked for two periods that met two criteria: consecutive days of negative index returns and cumulative losses of greater than or equal to 5% or 10%. So it goes on to say here, surprisingly, current financial upset doesn't meet requirements for inclusion. Everyone is acting like the sky is falling, but we haven't had any periods this month that would have made the cut for the analysis. The worst period this month was from January 6th through 8th, when the S&P 500 index dropped 4.7%. We came close, but keep in mind that 262 periods dropped more than 5%, not to mention ones that didn't make the cut were still worse than 4.7%. Now, as you can see, the markets rebounded after a sharp drop and wound up outperforming the long-term annualized returns by quite a bit, in fact. Over the subsequent 1, 3, and 5-year periods, the worse the hit, the better the markets did afterwards. This goes to show why you want to stay disciplined when the markets turn against you. If you're focused on the long term, you can harvest market returns. If you tried to time this in an effort to avoid bad days, the only experience the good days. Even if you got out while the market was going down, you would still have to know when to get back in. You hear me say this all the time. You've got two problems on timing: when to get out and when to get back in. And the back end would be, if you get it right, you've actually got in at the scariest point in time. A large part of the extra returns above the long-term averages came quickly after the market dropped. If you miss a couple of days, you might very well have missed out on all of those extra returns. When you miss out on the good days in the market, you don't get a time machine. They're gone. You can't get back the time. If you can avoid the bad days, you might as well get the benefit of good days. Staying in your seat is the only way you can reliably harvest long-term market returns that will help you meet your financial goals. Staying in your seat, once again, is the only way to reliably harvest long-term market returns that will help you meet financial goals. We realize the current market volatility may have you concerned about your long-term plan. That's why multiple asset classes, and you shouldn't have everything in stocks. You need to have some safer areas in the mix. I also believe some areas like getting the ups and none of the downs, like fixed index annuities work. But, I like me some stocks and ETFs. I like me some bonds. I want some quantitative tactical that adjusts to momentum. And I want some no risk upside as well. That's kind of how we do it at our firm. So, hey, if you've got a question, let's take some callers. 504-260-0995. We have Kathleen from Covington. How can we help you? Welcome to the Winning at Life hotline.
Well, thank you. I had it suggested to me just this week that because some of the stocks are down, like Google and Apple, and some of real high-quality stocks are down, that I should borrow against my life insurance at 4.4% and invest in some of those stocks, hoping they'll come back. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, those have, the ones you mentioned have been part of momentum stocks that you kind of would need in your portfolio in the past too, because if you're stock picking and you don't have momentum, that's actually been a significant of market growth, certain companies over the past few years. Are you investing otherwise? Without doing this, how are you investing?
Oh, yes, I have ETFs. I don't have any fixed income annuities, but I do have ETFs. And in the life insurance, I have a lot of money in there. And, I have a IRA. And it's mostly, I think, ETFs and some bonds. It's well diversified.
Okay. So are you still at a working point and adding to a company plan?
No, I'm self-employed. I'm 70. I plan to work possibly another 5 years.
Okay. And can I, without naming names, can you give me a general idea who advised you to borrow money to buy stocks?
It's my management firm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they manage money.
Well, they said we should go ahead. Yeah, they're a fiduciary, and that we should go ahead and talk about it.
Okay.
Set up a meeting and talk about it.
Well, that's going to jump. I'm going to address something else right there, where they're a fiduciary. That is not a title. It's an it's an obligation that they give you advice in your best interest. It is not a title. Everybody needs to quit thinking of it as, oh, I'm a fiduciary. Okay. No, we are supposed to act in your best interest. And I'll tell you, because we're audited based upon that. Why did you make this recommendation there? So, their title would be, they're a brokerage firm, they're a wealth advisor, they're an insurance agent, and such as that.
They're a wealth advisor.
Okay. I question that advice because it has to deal with borrowing money to buy stocks that we're not guaranteed that stock's going to go up. Yeah, it's down, but does that mean it's going to go up? That'd be like GE. Well, GE's down a lot. Let's borrow money and buy some more. And it just kept getting worse. This market might be, earlier I gave some history on the markets, and let's go back to that. In year 2000, S&P was down 9.06%. 2001, it was down 12.02. 2002, it was down 22.15%. If you had put $1 million to work, after 3 years, you'd be down to $622,000. Even though that next year it had a 28.5% gain, you're only back to $800,000.
Right. Yeah.
So we can't borrow money to buy stocks. I'm not a fan of that advice. I don't know the structure of the life insurance, but when you get into borrowing, it'd be like saying, well, borrow from your house. Let's buy some stocks. I don't agree. If you're not needing that life insurance and that money needs to be cashed out and repurposed, that's a different conversation there. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we go buy stocks. What you're best off doing is adding more to your investment planning that you're doing, because when you look at the S&P 500 for this year, it's down at this point a little more than 17%. If you're looking into the future, I believe history tells us it's going to be higher in the future. And and we're going to continue probably being down this year. So there's some opportunity. I'm just not a fan of borrowing money to do it, Kathleen. Be careful with that.
Get the money somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Buy low. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for calling and trusting us.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Have a great day.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my GSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne tasting of your salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then I should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I won some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mosquitoes. We know them as flying, blood-sucking pests, but did you know that mosquitoes are actually highly intelligent? They can smell human breath, our sweat helps them choose their next meal, and they use our body heat to find just the right place to bite. Outsmart mosquitoes with help from Mosquito Joe. Mosquito Joe has this time-release capsule that they spray that slowly releases its mosquito death over a course of a month. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Learn the ins and outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world. So if you have a financial situation or you just want to learn more about money, ask Gregory. Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app or wherever you get your podcast. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any government agency.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
Well, one of the things I get questions about often is about investing. Hey, I've got some money. What should I do? Where should I put it? I'll ask next, how much money are we talking about? Well, yeah, I've got $5,000 to invest. So where should I go with it? And then the next question would be, is that emergency money? Do you have another account with emergency money in that? And a lot of times the answer is no. Then my next point would be, that sure sounds like emergency money. And you need to have that before you go elsewhere, saving or investing.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I make you feel invincible. I'm more than recreational. I'm what you need. I'll be your smooth ride. That late night.
Hey, y'all. Yeah, it gets me worked up when you're borrowing money to lose money. Possibly. Yeah. Somebody comes up. Hey, you should take a home equity loan and invest that money. You should take a reverse loan. You should not borrow money to put into risk. Why? That money might not come back to it's called risk. If it can go down, do not use borrowed money, whether it's from your life insurance, whether it's from your home. It'd be like, and don't borrow it out of your 401k to invest either. Those are bad ideas because things go wrong. Don't borrow money out of your 401k to go buy a car. And especially what you got to be concerned with on borrowing out of your 401k is if you're younger than 59 and a half. Share a story with you, fella. Like he said, yeah, I bought this car and it was a great deal. It's like getting free money. And, you know, it was tens of thousands pulled out of his 401k. And then months later, he lost his job. And he didn't have the money to put back in the 401k. So you know what it counted as? A distribution. So he had to pay taxes on that loan, and he had a 10% penalty because he was younger than 59 and a half. So what started out as the best deal ever to buy a car became one of the most expensive loans I've ever heard about. there. And I just challenge, if somebody's really looking in your best interest, suggesting you borrow money to buy stocks. I tell you what, I think from the powers that overwatch this industry, I think they would frown upon that. I sure wouldn't. And we get audited, and I sure would hate for an account to be pulled and we had documented that we suggest they borrowed money to buy stocks. I wouldn't want to answer for that. I'll tell you that. No, indeed. We need to make good decisions going forward. And that's like, if you're considering, that means you feel like I do in the long term, this is going to be worth more. But if you're stock picking, you got to make sure it's quality companies and in their industry, and they're doing things that's going to keep their earnings growing. And it's simply put, why do stocks go up? It's because their earnings are going up, or the market believes their future earnings are going to increase. That's what drives the prices. Is that company going to be successful and have growth in earnings? And if something happens and that changes, that price is going to go down. That's why you got to be careful not to do that too much or get overweighted, meaning having too much money of yours in too few stocks or too few investments can hurt you. We need diversification. Why? Everything's not in favor. Here's another saying of mine. Everything doesn't work. That's why those 4 asset classes I've talked about, and I talk about it often, is I want the opportunity for something to kind of always be moving in favor for me, to increase the opportunity of success. Keep that in mind. Nothing works all the time. That's why I don't want one asset class. And that's why if I'm buying stock, I don't want just a few. I'd rather 500 like the S&P 500. And that's part of our strategy in doing so. The other thing we have to be cognizant of is our opportunities in our tax brackets going forward. Where are efficiencies for us to do prudent things to help us be better in the future regarding our qualified money? You know that those IRAs, 401ks, I'm about to talk to Eric about his in just a moment here, is, where you have your 401k, it's got 500,000. Wow, I've got 500,000. No, you don't. You have a partner in that account called the IRS, the United States Treasury. They have a part of it. And with taxes look like they're going up in 2026, guess what? They're increasing their portion of your account. So some of these discussions about how can we shift, I'd rather pay taxes now when it's lower and build tax-free income and build money into the future that I don't have to pay taxes on. Think about that way. And that's one of the things, one reason I said people should just talk to my team, call my office. Like, I want to see that tax efficiency report. And in fact, we don't go forward without running that for it. That's how important it is to see where are tax efficient opportunities for you in the future. Eric from North Shore, he dialed us at 504-260-0995. Welcome to the show, Eric. How can we help?
Yes, with your 401k, what's the best way to safeguard it? Because it was suggested to go into something like a BlackRock money something, turn it over, or see with a Roth. If you turn it over to a Roth, don't you have to wait 5 years before you can draw from it?
See, now, simply put, that is what I call the clock. If you've not established a Roth before, you need to open a Roth, and we're talking about an individual. Rules are a little bit different for the 401ks coming over. I think we'll probably cover that on the next show. But just a simple rule. The 5-year clock means open account and add a contribution. When 5 years go by, you've taken care of timing. So no matter when you add additional money to it, it doesn't have to wait for 5 years. So the core thing to take money out tax-free from a Roth is you need to have had that account established for 5 years and be older than 59 and a half. Then those distributions, the gains in that account can come out tax-free. Does that help you?
So I'm 69.
Yes, sir.
And I might need it before then.
Yes, you might. Now, the after-tax portion of that Roth can come out, but the growth in the account has to stay there for 5 years. Now, if you've had one established for 5 years and you put and you contributed more money and all that extra money contributed has not been there for 5 years, it's okay because the clock is already taken care of. You could have, let me tell the story this way. Angie set up a Roth account 10 years ago and she put $50 in and then didn't put anything else in it. But now she's been putting $7,000 a year in it, and now she's 59 and a half and wants to take some out, even though it hasn't been there for 5 years. The contributions. Well, the account has been established for more than 5 years, so she can take money out. So that's how that rule works.
There's not a lot in the 401k, but I started about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And if I roll it over to protect it somewhat, then say a year from now I need to take money out. How would that affect me?
You should be able to take the money out. It's been 5 years in the 401k. You roll it over. Okay. You've got the 5-year clock taken care of on that. I'd say you're solid. Hey, thanks for the call.
Well, I have the last question.
Yeah, but we're running out of time here. We're going to a hard break. The show's over. Hey, if you've got any question, call my office, 504-832-9200. The website is GregoryRicks.com. We're going to be back here next Saturday. This is a 3-hour show. This is hour 3. I'm out of here. Y'all reach out to us. Appreciate you. Make good decisions. Be safe.
Firm offers insurance services. Gregory Ricks & Associates is an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Gregory Ricks & Associates are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for a financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Gregory Ricks & Associates is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein, provided by third parties, have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Gregory Ricks & Associates. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences, including, but not limited to, a need for additional tax withholding or estimated tax payments, the loss of certain tax deductions and credits, and higher taxes on Social Security benefits and higher Medicare premiums. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. Neither AE Wealth Management nor advisors providing investment advisory services through AE Wealth Management recommend or facilitate the buying or selling of cryptocurrencies. Third parties and guests of the show are not affiliated with, nor do their opinions reflect those of Gregory Ricks & Associates or AE Wealth Management. AE Wealth Management provides services without regard to political affiliation, and the views of individual advisors are not necessarily the views of AE Wealth Management. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
WRNO-FM, New Orleans, an iHeart radio station. Available everywhere on our free iHeart radio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one.